The world can shrink to the size of a single room. For Olivia, that room was her small house in a quiet corner of Tennessee. The walls felt like they were closing in. Her husband, Mark, had left. He had packed a bag one morning, his words as empty as the space he left behind. He said he couldn't handle it. The it was everything. It was the mountain of bills that grew taller each week. It was the heavy silence that had replaced their laughter. Most of all, it was their son, Caleb, and the sickness that had taken root inside his small 10-year-old body. Leukemia. The word was a thief. It stole colour from Caleb's cheeks and energy from his limbs. It stole Olivia's sleep and her peace of mind. Sometimes Olivia would sit at her kitchen table late at night, long after Caleb had fallen into a restless sleep. She would stare at the stacks of paper, hospital invoices, final notices. Each one was a reminder of her failure, or what felt like failure. She was a mother. She was supposed to protect her child. She was supposed to fix things. But how could she fix this? The world kept spinning, but Olivia felt stuck. She was frozen in a moment of fear. The future was a fog she couldn't see through. The loneliness was a constant ache in her chest, a hollow space where her husband's support used to be. It was a heavy weight, like a sky about to break. She would trace the lines on her worn wooden table. She remembered buying it with Mark. They had been so full of dreams then. Dreams of a big family, of watching their children grow up strong and happy. Now those dreams felt like ghosts. They haunted the quiet corners of her house. Caleb's laughter, once a constant melody, was now a rare and precious sound. Olivia missed it more than anything. She missed the simple, easy days before the diagnosis, before the leaving, before the fear became her closest companion. She was paddling a small boat in a vast, stormy ocean, and she was so very tired of being alone. The town she had once loved now felt like a cage. The familiar streets seemed to whisper her story. The sympathetic glances from neighbours felt like pity. They saw a single mother. They saw a woman struggling. They saw the shadow of sickness that followed her everywhere. Olivia wanted to scream that she was more than her circumstances. She was a fighter. She was a mother. She was still Olivia. But the words were trapped inside her, buried under the weight of it all. The sky over her small Tennessee town was grey and heavy, and Olivia worried that the sun would never find its way through the clouds again. The days blurred into a single, exhausting routine. Wake up, check on Caleb, make a simple breakfast he might not eat, drive to the hospital. Wait. The hospital became their second home, but it was a home without comfort. It smelled of antiseptic and anxiety. The white walls were sterile and cold. The beeping of machines was the soundtrack to their lives. Olivia would sit by Caleb's bedside for hours, holding his small hand. His skin was pale, and his bright, curious eyes were often clouded with exhaustion from the treatments. She would read to him from his favourite adventure books, her voice a steady anchor in a sea of uncertainty. She watched the poison drip into his veins. That is what chemotherapy felt like, a necessary poison. It was supposed to kill the sickness, but it also took a piece of her son each time. It stole his hair, it stole his appetite. It stole his energy to run and play like the other boys his age. Olivia would smile for him. She had to be strong for him. But inside, she was crumbling. The drive home from the hospital was the hardest part of the day. Alone in her car, the brave face would fall away. Tears would stream down her cheeks, mingling with the raindrops that so often seemed to fall from the sky. The financial strain was a constant gnawing pressure. Each hospital visit, each treatment, each prescription was another bill she couldn't pay. She worked part-time at the local diner, picking up extra shifts whenever she could. But it was never enough. The numbers just didn't add up. She would lie awake at night, her mind racing. What if she lost the house? Where would they go? How could she provide a safe, stable home for Caleb when the ground beneath her was constantly shifting? The fear was a physical thing, a knot in her stomach that never went away. It was the fear of a parent who would do anything for their child but feels powerless. Olivia felt invisible. People saw her, but they didn't really see her. They saw the tired mother of the sick boy. They offered sad smiles and quiet "how are yous," but she knew they didn't want the real answer. The real answer was too heavy. The real answer was, "I am breaking." So she would simply nod and say, "We're hanging in there." The loneliness was profound. It wasn't just about her husband being gone, it was about carrying a burden so immense that no one else could truly understand it. She was on an island of grief and fear, and the shore was nowhere in sight. One evening, the rain came down in sheets. It was a cold, miserable December night. Olivia was leaving the hospital, her shoulders slumped with the day's weight. Caleb had had a difficult session. He was weak and nauseous, and his sadness was a mirror of her own. She pulled the collar of her thin jacket tighter, a poor defence against the biting wind. The world felt as bleak and grey as the stormy sky. As she hurried toward her car, she saw a figure huddled by the hospital entrance. A woman, soaked to the bone, shivering violently. Her clothes were tattered and she had no coat. Most days, Olivia might have walked past. She had her own storm to weather. Her own problems were a mountain she could barely climb. But tonight was different. She looked at the woman and she didn't just see a stranger. She saw the raw shape of human suffering. She saw a loneliness that echoed her own. The woman's eyes were filled with a deep, hollow despair that Olivia recognized. It was the look of someone who had been forgotten by the world. In that moment, something inside Olivia shifted. She couldn't fix her own life. She couldn't cure her son. But maybe, just maybe, she could do this one small thing. She walked over to the woman. "Are you all right?" Olivia asked, her voice soft. The woman, whose name was Sophia, looked up, surprised. She could barely speak through her shivering. Olivia didn't hesitate. She took off her own coat, a simple, worn coat, but it was warm and dry, and wrapped it around Sophia's shoulders. "You'll freeze out here," Olivia said. She then offered something even more valuable, a ride. She drove Sophia to the nearest shelter, a place of warmth and safety on a cold, unforgiving night. Before Sophia got out of the car, Olivia reached into her purse and pulled out the $20 bill she had been saving for groceries. She pressed the money into Sophia's hand. "It's not much," Olivia said, "but please get yourself something warm to eat." Sophia's eyes filled with tears. "No one has been this kind to me in a very long time," she whispered. As Olivia drove away from the shelter, something felt different. The knot in her stomach had loosened, just a little. For the first time in months, she had thought about someone else's pain instead of just her own. It was a small act. A coat, a ride, a few dollars. But in the landscape of her despair, it felt like planting a single hopeful seed in barren ground. The encounter with Sophia stayed with Olivia. It was a small flicker of light in her overwhelming darkness. The act of giving, of extending a hand to someone else in need, had given her something back. It wasn't money, it wasn't a solution to her problems. It was a feeling of connection, a feeling of purpose beyond her own struggle. A few days later, she saw a flyer at the local grocery store. It was for a community food drive. The town was collecting canned goods and non-perishables for families in need during the holiday season. The holidays were approaching, a fact Olivia had been trying to ignore. In the past, Olivia would have seen the flyer and thought, "I am one of those families in need." She would have felt the sting of her own poverty, the shame of not being able to provide. But now she saw it differently. She thought of Sophia. She thought of the hunger and cold that existed just outside the hospital doors. She realized that even with all her struggles, she still had something to give. She had a little bit of time. She had two hands. She had a heart that, despite being broken, could still feel for others. This realization was a quiet turning point, a small step onto a new path. So she made a call. She volunteered. Her first shift was at the town hall, sorting cans of green beans and boxes of pasta. The work was simple, repetitive, but it was meaningful. With each can she placed in a box, she imagined it going to a family. She imagined a child eating a warm meal. She wasn't just stacking cans, she was stacking hope. She worked alongside other volunteers, the retired school teacher, the high school football coach, the owner of the local hardware store. They didn't talk about her problems. They didn't offer pity. They just worked together, united by a simple common goal. For a few hours, Olivia wasn't the sick boy's mother. She wasn't the woman whose husband had left. She was just Olivia, a volunteer, a part of something bigger than herself. The simple act of sorting food became a form of therapy. It quieted the frantic voice of fear in her head. It replaced the feeling of helplessness with a sense of agency. She was doing something. She was contributing. She was helping. And in the humble setting of the town hall, surrounded by boxes of donated food, Olivia started to find a piece of the person she thought she had lost. Olivia's quiet dedication did not go unnoticed. She came back day after day. Her quiet energy was, well, contagious. She didn't give grand speeches, she just worked. She smiled at other volunteers. She organized the donation tables with a gentle efficiency. Soon, her story began to circulate, not as a tale of pity, but as one of inspiration. People in the small Tennessee town learned about her son, Caleb. They learned about her struggles, and they saw her there at the food drive, giving what little time and energy she had to help others. This was a story they could understand. It was a story about resilience. And then something beautiful happened. The community began to join in. It started small. The high school football team showed up one Saturday to help lift heavy boxes. The local bakery started donating fresh bread every morning. The owner of the diner where Olivia worked put a donation jar on the counter, and it filled up quickly. It was as if Olivia's single act of kindness had been a spark, and now the whole town was catching fire. People weren't just donating food anymore. They were donating their time, their skills, and their compassion. Kindness became a chain reaction, spreading from one person to the next. The food drive grew bigger than anyone had expected. The town hall was overflowing with donations. They had enough food to help every family in need in their county, and then some. But it was more than just food. It was a feeling of unity. Neighbours were talking to neighbours again. Strangers were smiling at each other on the street. The town, which had felt like a cage to Olivia, now felt like a warm embrace. People started looking out for one another in small ways. An elderly man's driveway was shoveled after a snowstorm. A young family received an anonymous gift card for groceries. Olivia was at the centre of it all, though she never sought the spotlight. She was simply the first stone tossed into the pond, and the ripples just kept spreading. She saw how one person's willingness to help could awaken the kindness in everyone. It taught her a profound lesson. We are not islands. We are all connected. Our struggles and our joys are intertwined. The town was healing itself, and in the process it was helping to heal her. The heavy grey sky over her town seemed to be lifting, making way for slivers of blue. As the community blossomed with kindness, a quiet miracle was happening within the sterile walls of the hospital. Caleb's health began to improve. It wasn't sudden. It was a slow, gradual climb. One day he ate a full meal without feeling sick. Another day he had enough energy to sit up and draw for an hour. The doctors were cautiously optimistic. They said the treatments were working better than expected. His blood counts were stabilizing. These small victories felt like monumental triumphs to Olivia. Each one was a ray of sunshine breaking through the clouds. Olivia's own spirit began to mend. The hope she saw in her community started to take root in her own heart. She was no longer just surviving each day. She was starting to live it. When she sat by Caleb's bedside now, she brought stories with her. Not just from his adventure books, but from the food drive. She told him about the football team, the baker, and all the kind people who were helping. She wanted him to know that the world was not just a place of sickness and struggle, but also a place of incredible goodness and generosity. His world had become so small, and she wanted to make it bigger again. Her visits to the hospital were still draining, but they were no longer filled with despair. They were filled with a determined hope. She saw the fight in Caleb's eyes returning. He started asking about his friends. He talked about wanting to go back to school. These were conversations she hadn't dared to dream of just a few months ago. The renewed hope gave Olivia a new strength. She was still tired, but it was a different kind of tired. It was the satisfying exhaustion that comes from meaningful work, not the soul-crushing fatigue of hopelessness. The change in Olivia was visible to everyone. There was a light in her eyes that had been missing for a very long time. She smiled more easily. Her laughter, when it came, was genuine. She had learned that she couldn't control her son's illness. She couldn't erase the pain of her husband's departure, but she could control her response to the darkness. She could choose to light a candle. She had chosen kindness, and that choice had changed everything. It had not only sparked a movement in her town, but it had also reignited the flame of hope within her own soul. One crisp winter afternoon, a letter arrived for Olivia. It was addressed to her at the town hall, where she had become a familiar, comforting presence. The envelope was plain, the handwriting unfamiliar. She opened it cautiously, her curiosity piqued. Inside, the letter was short, but the words carried an immense weight. It was from Sophia, the woman from that rainy night, the woman to whom she had given her coat and her last $20. Olivia sat down on a stack of boxes and began to read, her heart beating a little faster. The world around her, filled with the chatter of volunteers, faded into a quiet hum. Sophia wrote that Olivia's act of kindness had changed her life. It wasn't just the coat or the money. It was the fact that someone had seen her. Someone had cared. That night at the shelter, she had decided to fight for a second chance. The letter explained that she had used the money for a bus ticket to a nearby city where she had a distant cousin. She had found a place to stay, and more importantly, she had found a job. It was a simple job, washing dishes in a small restaurant, but it was a start. It was a foothold on the path back to a life of dignity and self-respect. But that was not all. The most powerful part of the letter was the last paragraph. Sophia wrote that she had not forgotten Olivia's kindness. To honor it, she had started volunteering 1 day a week at a soup kitchen in her new city. "You showed me that one person can make a difference," Sophia wrote. "Now I want to be that person for someone else. I will pass on the warmth you gave to me." Olivia held the letter to her chest, tears welling in her eyes. These were not tears of sadness or fear. They were tears of profound, overwhelming joy. In that moment, Olivia understood the true power of what she had done. Her small act of kindness had not ended with Sophia. It had started a new beginning. It had traveled to another city and was now touching other lives. It was an echo, a ripple that continued to spread far beyond what she could see. She had not just helped one person, she had set in motion a chain of compassion. She realized that we are all connected in this invisible web of humanity. An act of love is never wasted. It becomes a part of the world, a force for good that continues to move and grow. The story of life is not written in grand gestures. It is written in the small, everyday choices we make. It is written in a shared smile, a helping hand, a moment of compassion for a stranger. Olivia learned this lesson not from a book, but from living it. Her journey through the darkest valley of her life had taught her that hope is not something you find. It is something you create. You create it when you choose to look beyond your own pain and see the pain of another. You create it when you give, even when you feel you have nothing left. Kindness is a language that the deaf can hear and the blind can see. It costs nothing, yet it is the most valuable currency we have. Olivia's simple act of giving her coat to a shivering woman was an investment. It paid dividends she could never have imagined. It rippled through her community, inspiring a town to come together. It rippled through her own family, bringing a renewed sense of hope that helped her son on his path to healing. And it rippled across the state, inspiring a woman she barely knew to start a new life and pay that kindness forward. We often believe that to make a difference, we must do something big. We must be wealthy or powerful or famous. But Olivia's story teaches us the opposite. It is the small, quiet acts of love that have the power to change the world. Each one is a seed. You may not see it sprout. You may not see it grow. But you must have faith that it will. You must trust that your small offering of light will find a crack in someone's darkness and shine through. That is the nature of goodness. It cannot be contained. It must be shared. Think about the echoes you are leaving behind. Are they echoes of anger and indifference, or are they echoes of kindness and compassion? Every day we have a choice. We can choose to build walls around our hearts, or we can choose to build bridges. Olivia chose to build a bridge on a rainy night, and it led her and many others to a place of hope and second chances. Her story is a reminder that even in our most difficult moments, we have the power to create light. We just have to be brave enough to share it. Today is December 30th, 2025. The air in Tennessee is cold and crisp, but the sun is shining. Caleb is home. His hair has started to grow back, a soft fuzz that Olivia loves to run her fingers through. He is still on a long road, but he is walking it with a strength that amazes everyone. He laughs more now. The sound is the sweetest music Olivia has ever heard. Their small house no longer feels like a prison of despair. It feels like a sanctuary of hope. The mountain of bills is still there, but it no longer seems insurmountable. The community, her community, has made sure of that. Olivia still volunteers at the town hall, which has now become a permanent community support centre. She is no longer just a volunteer, she is a leader. She organises, she comforts, she connects people in need with people who can help. She learned that her greatest strength was born from her deepest pain. Her experience gave her an empathy that could not be taught. She understood what it felt like to be alone and afraid, and she was determined to make sure no one else in her town felt that way. Her life found a new purpose, one she never would have discovered without the storm. Love, in its purest form, is action. It is a coat for the cold. It is a warm meal for the hungry. It is a hand to hold in the dark. It is the force that turns strangers into neighbours and neighbours into family. The story of Olivia, Caleb, and Sophia is not just a story about one town in Tennessee. It is a story about the human heart. It is a testament to the incredible resilience of the human spirit and our profound capacity for goodness. It reminds us that no matter how dark the night gets, the dawn will always come. Hope is the belief in that dawn. The circle of kindness that began on a rainy night is unbroken. It continues to ripple outward, a quiet but powerful force in the world. It is a circle of love, of second chances, of the simple, beautiful truth that we are all in this together. And when we choose to lift each other up, we all rise. Olivia's journey shows us that even from the depths of despair, a single act of kindness can build a bridge to hope. It is a bridge strong enough for all of us to walk across together into the light.